Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Follow the Light Music Review. My name is John DeLaurentis, and this is episode 6 of Interviews. And I have blessed to be welcoming to the channel today Christian hard rock and metal icon Les Carlsen and his wife Joyce. Les Carlsen has been rocking for Jesus for decades and helping break down the doors of acceptance for Christian heavy metal and its ability to reach souls for Christ. With the trailblazing heavy metal band Bloodgood, Les has displayed his vocal abilities, offering melodic and potent, higher pitched vocals through the Bloodgood albums, 1985's demo Metal Missionaries, a self titled full length Bloodgood from 1986, 1987's Detonation, 1988's Rock in a Hard Place, 1989's Out of the Darkness, two live albums released in 1990, 1991's All Stand Together, and a couple decades later, with 2013's Dangerously Close. In 2019, Bloodgood's metal mission through the years was documented in the Trenches of Rock film and its accompanying soundtrack. Les has also recorded an album with Don Cromwell, guitars for Eddie Money and Air Supply, called The Lucky One, which displayed a classic rock vibe rooted in the 1970s. And then in 2022 and 2025, Les continued his ministry of music with two solo albums, He's Coming and Free Will, both of which landed on Best of the Year album lists. Through it all, his wife Joyce has been his soulmate and has supported the ministry in various roles. So it is my pleasure to welcome you both to the channel. Welcome.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks, John.
You're
You
welcome.
got, you got everything that a list of things that were accomplished. Got to do
Yeah,
one correction. Uh,
go ahead.
Carlson Cromwell is called the Lucky Side.
That's right. Yeah, the lucky side. That's right.
Which you just ordered and we just shipped.
Yeah,
Yes, I did order it.
yeah,
Yes, the lucky side. Yeah, I must have had lucky one in my head when I typed this out. So
it
the
worked.
lucky side, from 2015 with Don Cromwell.
Yes.
All right, so let's start with why don't you tell me about what first drew you to music and who were your earliest musical influences?
Wow, we're going way back. I mean,
Way
you,
back.
you were you were a young guy in 1970, so my very first musical influence. Okay, so I would say Elvis, maybe where I really was going, yeah, this is, I like, but I was born in 1948. So I like the swing bands and all
Hmm.
those things. Unchained Melody was the first song that I ever sang in my life, and I must have been 5.
Wow.
And talk about a high pitched voice. I mean, at 5, it was super high.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great song.
It is. Yeah. I think that was Joyce's first song she ever sang too.
Yeah, we had that in common when we met. We talked about our roots. Oh man, yeah, that song.
And there's a lot that we've discovered about us over how many years? 53, 54 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, the musical influence was, I would say, I mean, um, Elvis Presley was a big influence. And then there was a period of folk music that took place, and I would think I was a very lonely person at that point. And I was going, what is happening? I don't like any of this stuff. And then the Beatles came out, and that was pretty much, I know where I'm going kind of thing.
You
Yeah.
liked Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding.
That was
You
later.
did some of
That
the
was later.
that was later.
But I mean, after he was talking the first,
Hmm.
and so when I started getting into really seriously getting into thinking I want to sing, uh, I cut my teeth on Beatles and Stones and all the English groups, but then
Right.
got into the soulful guys, Wilson Pickett, James Brown, Otis Redding, and I wanted to have more soul in what I was doing. So that was kind of an early start for me. I was into rock and rhythm and blues and soul.
Awesome. Yeah. So, why don't you discuss some of the bands that you got involved with early on and how they developed? Because I know there were some bands that you were involved in prior to Bloodgood.
Yeah, well, when I first started, I was in a band called The Topics. We
Okay.
did high school dances, um, and then, well, okay, so then I got into hair after that. Oh, I was in a band called The Front Page. We did all these dance halls or roller rinks and dance halls uh,
Right.
in the Northwest. The ballrooms, they used to be these old ballrooms. They turned them into little rock dance theater type things. And I was on that circuit. And after that, I got into Hair, the Broadway musical Hair that I auditioned for in Seattle. And that's kind of how I ended up meeting this girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of talk about that. How what were the steps, or how did that come about that you got involved in the rock musical Hair, and how did that influence you for your singing and your showmanship?
Well, I think that I got involved by auditioning, and there was about 1,000 kids that were standing in line to be into that.
Wow.
So the odds were pretty slim that anybody would make it in there. And I got in and kind of worked my way up through the ranks and through the different characters in the play. And finally, after I'd been in the show for a few months, I ended up playing the lead, Claude, and Claude Hooper Bukowski. And then we did this bus and truck tour that included some of the other cast members throughout the country. And that's when I met Joyce.
Mhm. I was on the Boston show.
Okay.
And so
Yeah. So you.
they put all the shows, they took people from all the shows, the major
Mhm.
cities, and put two tours together. And we were in the bus and truck because we were the Hardy Bunch.
Yeah, which means that we didn't get sick and we were performing night after night and we didn't complain. And so they,
Yeah.
they picked folks like that. And it's funny that we're still doing
I
it.
know
You
we're
know,
still.
they made the right choice,
Mhm.
You
apparently.
made the right choice. Yeah. So how
But
did you get
I,
involved?
I think that that's where, because you asked about influence, where Les being the performer he is, if you've ever seen any Bloodgood videos or even now on stage,
Right.
um, he's just very vibrant and dramatic and theatrical in his
Right.
presentation. And many people probably don't know that he's also an actor. He did
Right.
this one man 90-minute production of St. John in Exile that is just spectacular. It's on DVD. And just did a movie. It's supposed to be out this year called Miracle on the Precipice. And
Oh,
um, it has Kevin Sorbo in it and Nathan Gamble from the Dolphin Tales. And yeah, we're waiting for it to come out because it should be a pretty big deal.
yeah.
That's
I've seen this, the St. John and XL. Yeah, that's one on my list of things to get. I have not seen that, but I have seen it advertised, so I'm very interested in seeing that.
And,
Um,
and
yeah,
Joyce has a similar background, obviously. So she's been in theater. She's a great actress, singer, songwriter, and her stage presence is amazing. So yeah, but Hair was what a great
yeah, it
opportunity
was
for
awesome.
young people like us to spend, 2.5 years doing 8 shows a week on a Broadway
yeah,
musical. I mean, that really gets your chops going there. So
yeah.
And
You have to.
it was during that time towards the end of Hair, as it was winding down, that Les recorded an album with a group, and the group was called Joshua.
yeah,
And they recorded music that Michael Butler, the owner of Hair and the
Right.
producer, backed that record. And it didn't really go anywhere or do anything. And so that ended up becoming the 1971.
well,
Right.
it was never released.
It was never released, right?
So that I released it as Les Carlsen 1971 uh,
Right. Right.
years
Yeah.
later,
Which is. Yeah.
which I'll bring that back in when you ask the questions about the songs and stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not. Yeah, because I think I read the story that it was on a cassette or something that it was discovered or
Mhm.
preserved, and then
yeah,
you were able to get it. So it's nice to have that artifact from that time period
yeah,
released.
artifact is a good word to describe.
So Joyce, I was going to ask you also, how did you get involved in hair? Like, because you obviously the Lord meant for you two to cross paths, but
Yeah.
was it just an outgrowth of your like theater background, and you would
No,
audition for it?
that became my theater
Oh,
background.
that was your background.
I was into singing from the time I was a little girl. When I was
Okay,
7, I used to sing on the radio on Saturday with Mary Dawn's Review. It was
right.
back on the East Coast. So anyway, I auditioned for Hair the same way Les did and got in. It was, there were hundreds and hundreds of young people. So it was kind of a miracle, and it was a destiny for us to meet. And yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
after Hair, we both got into different bands. He was in a band called Fred Schwartz, and they actually did some pretty good songs which have never been heard or released.
Mm,
Um, but we have recordings of them doing top 40 stuff, James Gang um,
And
nice. Yeah.
and originals.
and originals and Doobie Brothers, and yeah, we have a bunch of originals
And
too.
by the way, that's where Don Cromwell, he was the bass player for Fred Schwartz, and that's where we met
Oh, okay.
right after Hair. So yeah, again, stories will come out.
And I was with two other girls, and we had an act called Babs and the Doolangs, and we did a 50s review. We dressed up in prom dresses and
Yeah.
did kind of a tribute to the 50s because this was only the 70s, so it was like, 20 years back.
They were so good. They were so
They
funny,
were funny.
and they were really talented and just a high-powered act. Everybody loved them.
But we missed each other because our bands were in different
Right.
places.
Different places. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
got together and became Carlsen Mesa.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
There's some history for you.
And we recorded two albums and an EP together before we met Jesus and our lives took a turn.
Were they ever released, those
Yeah,
releases?
yeah,
Yeah. So they're probably rare to find now, I guess, I would imagine.
yeah. The first album was called Against the Law
Okay.
by Carlsen Masick,
Hmm.
and it actually, if you look it up, you'll find it. And the second one was Rock and Roll Fun by Carlsen Masick. And then we did another album. We changed the name. Sticker was the name of the band at that point in the 80s.
In the 80s. Okay.
Yeah, and
Interesting. Yeah.
that was an EP, and that was just before we had our encounter with Christ, and everything took a turn.
Everything case, and that was perfect to see into my next question. That was I was ask you that if you can just both of you can share your journey of how you first met Jesus and he became your Lord and Savior.
Okay, that is a long one.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But I mean, well, basically, yeah, we were finally playing clubs together, and we were doing really well. We were very, very popular up in the Northwest because we had the theatrics going and the husband and wife duo, and we were doing covers. It was back when bars were doing a lot of dance,
Right.
disco and then rock. But it was really what people did. Basically, they would go out on the weekends and they would go to bars and they would dance. It was a
Hmm.
big thing, and so we were the entertainment up there. And during the course of those years, at the end there, we hired a new keyboard player that we hadn't met. He wasn't in the Seattle circuit, so we'd never heard of him before, but we had auditions, and this guy came in. He looked great. He sounded great. He had great gear. He was really disciplined and just very professional. And we'd never heard of him before, which was really weird because
Yeah, we know all the
young.
musicians in the area, and we'd
Yeah.
never heard.
Right.
And for this guy to be so good and have
And not be
escaped us,
known.
as we found out later,
Yeah,
because it was a
he was playing in the Christian music thing. He was a
Right.
Christian. We didn't know it, but anyway, he was so different to us, and I was thinking, wow, I don't know what this guy's got going, but he's kind of really an amazing person, and there's something very attractive about his soul or his spirit or
Right.
whatever, whatever I called it at the time. And turns out that he was a Christian that had gone against, the better judgment of the church that he went to, that he would get into a bar band. But he felt called to go into the bar
Right.
band. And so he came in, and he didn't come in saying, I'm a Christian. He just came in and
Right.
he just was who he was. and the Christ in him was the attraction. So uh, through a course of events, um,
Yeah,
Joyce jump in.
we just started to question him about
Right.
his Christianity, and he presented Jesus in a way that neither of us had ever heard of before, as someone that he had a close, intimate relationship with, and that blew both our minds because
We were
we,
far from that.
yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, as a matter of fact, her and I were hiding the fact that we were being sort of drawn to the Christ in Don.
yeah,
And we were kind of hiding that because we were like really major heathens,
yeah,
not godly people at all, far from
Yeah.
it.
yeah, and he gave us a book called More Than a Carpenter, that is
Right.
it's apologetics. And
Yep.
so in the course of him reading and then putting the book down and kind of hiding it from me, I'd pick up the book and I'd read it and I'd set it down and hide it from him. We both were basically transformed. Jesus revealed himself to us, um, and we knew that we would never be the same with the knowledge we had now. So we went to Don and said, "Hey, we think Jesus was God, and knowing that means we're never going to be the same, but we don't know what we're supposed to do now."
Right. Right.
And so he told us to basically just pour out our hearts to the Lord and make him accept him as Savior, make him the Lord of our lives, and ask him to forgive us of our sins. And our lifestyle was pretty raunchy. And so when we did that, we immediately felt this release and
Hmm.
this uh, refreshing, like,
Do you want to describe it? Because it's really a great picture.
go ahead.
Well, we went into the bedroom together and we got on our knees at the foot of the bed and we started to talk to the Lord. We introduced ourselves
Poured out our
and
hearts.
told him
Yeah.
that we were falling in love with him and that we knew that he was real and that we wanted him to be our Lord.
And that we'd messed up our lives and we were going in the wrong direction and we wanted to change.
And
Yeah.
so the presence of him and the overwhelming emotion and the tears and the childlike innocence that came across us at the together. I mean, we we literally went together to Jesus at the same time.
Wow.
And he was there. And it was emotional and cleansing, and we looked at each other and we saw different people.
Yeah, it was a very dramatic born again experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was everything that we were attracted to in the world: sex, drugs, rock and roll, alcohol, cocaine, pot. But I just all of a sudden it just fell away. Our language immediately changed. We
Saw each
looked
other
at each
different.
other with different eyes. We fell
Right.
madly in love with each other. We started devouring the word, and we hadn't been to church yet. We
No,
just us and the Holy Spirit, and it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just
and that just went
remarkable.
on. I mean, it went on for several days. Um, and I bought a Bible for her and a Bible for me, and that's all we did. I mean, we kept being in the nightclubs because that was our job, but we just kept reading the Word. We'd get up in the afternoon because we didn't go to bed till 5 in the morning, but we'd get up and we would just start reading the Word all day until it was time to go back to work, and then we go to work.
Right.
We'd bring the Bibles, and on the breaks,
Yeah,
we'd
Yeah. Yeah.
read the word, and
yeah, we used to do breaks, where we'd go out and snort cocaine and do lines of stuff, and now on the breaks we're doing lines of Galatians and lines of John and
Yeah. The better lines.
yeah.
real lines, the lines that count.
And the guys in our band were they obviously, they
Don knew what happened, but the rest of the guys were
were
like,
like, what the heck
yeah,
happened? A lesson short. And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people actually during that time, because of our life, our extreme life change and our witness, they came to Christ, and some just left us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, as it happens.
Yeah, so that was the testimony in a nutshell, sort of. But this is
Yeah.
this is a living testimony with us. And as we started back in here when we first met, there was definitely something there that God saw. That
Right. Right.
there was a
Yeah.
sense of we need to be together somehow, and we still are, and we're still singing for Jesus. So
Amazing.
after we got saved, then we had been married 10 years, and we finally went to a church and confessed publicly that Christ was Lord.
Right.
And
Yeah, the pastor, um, did the altar call thing. Okay, every head bowed, every eye closed. You
Right.
know,
Right.
nobody looking around, but
nobody
if you
look,
want
don't
to
look
accept
around. If
Jesus,
somebody's tugging, if the Lord's tugging on your heart, you want to accept Jesus, just slip your hand up.
Right. Right.
We just stood up.
we stood up and said,
Hey,
the word says, don't take a lamp and put it under a table.
hey.
Just let everybody know that, that your light is from Christ above. And they were like, okay, yeah. And we publicly wanted to announce that we follow Jesus.
Yeah, it was a pretty dramatic, quick um, change, and I think the reason is because at the time, the whole metal metal missionary wave
Was
was
Right.
simmering.
it was about to take place, and
Right.
God was moving on Michael's heart, and Bloodgood needed a singer.
And I didn't know Michael. I mean, he was not in
Okay.
that circle either. I didn't know him
Right.
from, he knew who I was, but I didn't know him at all.
But
Right. Right.
we had an 18-year-old son who was into
Metal.
the hardest metal that was available at the time,
Right.
and
Right.
our eyes were opened to um, Satan's influence in
Right.
in the music industry.
Yeah.
After we met the king.
Yeah, and so that was what prompted Les to want to. Our son said to us, "So, well, what am I supposed to listen to now? Sandy Patty?"
Needed some harder rocket stuff.
Yeah. So and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Penn,
it's always amazing when I hear like
He's
stories such as yours, and it's just such an evidence of God's presence in the world. I think I was talking with someone the other day. It's like there's so much evidence of God's presence that
yeah.
it's harder not to believe. It's harder. You're just ignoring what's there. That's so clear when you see testimony after testimony of people changed their lives and how the Holy Spirit is used. That if you don't believe it, you're basically choosing to have your eyes kept
Yeah.
closed because there's
yeah,
evidence all around. I mean, even
Yeah.
in nature, there's evidence of it. So, and I appreciate that those guys are. So my story was a little bit different because I grew up in the church. So my father was a pastor. So church was kind of part of my DNA growing up. But there was a period of time where I kind of like strayed away, you know, started doing things I shouldn't have done. And it was like early 80s when it was Mylon Lefevre that was the spark. Because I grew up with all of those bands too, like in the 70s. I grew up listening to Deep Purple and Kiss and Black Sabbath and Uriah Heep and all those bands. And that was my music. I like the hard. I mean, I kind of like all kinds of music. I can appreciate all styles of music, but that was kind of like the classic rock was what I
Yeah.
was really into. So Mylan kind of represented that like spark. I think it was like maybe right before 1985, I think it was, but it's like the Lord spoke to me and used Mylan to kind of say you need to recommit your life back to the Lord, and I did. I knew the Lord, but I kind of had like strayed away, because I accepted him probably when I was about 10 years of age. But so music to me has been also in my DNA because I've been listening to it since I was 2 years old. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I was there like when you guys first were coming out. Like I had the Metal Missionaries cassette, and was so enthralled that we were now finally going to get Christian rock and metal, like music I really enjoyed, um, done in that style, and the quality, um, was outstanding as well. And that was kind of segues into my next question I was going to ask. I was going to ask about if you can discuss the origins of Bloodgood and some of the things that you experienced as being a part of that pioneering Christian metal band. I know it's kind of a long
Yeah.
question, but
So, but to tee off from what Joyce said about the speedy conversion, the Lord
right.
there was a wave that he'd started throughout the world with artists that was going to fulfill or fill a void in metal that was
Right.
not filled. So, and it was that Christian wave with Stryper and uh,
Hmm.
you know Bloodgood, Barren Cross, Leviticus,
Yeah.
Jerusalem, you know,
Right.
Joshua.
Josh,
Yeah.
all over just everywhere. And so, yeah, I mean, thank you, Lord, for speeding the process because uh, our first gig was with Stryper up in
Mhm.
Bellingham, Washington, and the second gig was Saturday night at the Paramount in Seattle. And my son went to those shows with me because he said, Dad, look at this band called Stryper. And I went, oh, okay, there's another heavy metal band. And
Yeah.
and so anyway, he went with us on the gig, and he literally was led to the Lord after the show in Seattle by Timmy Gaines, uh,
Yeah.
and my son was born again
Yeah.
from a heavy metal concert.
Yeah.
Like he was the first fruit, like boom, right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very cool.
praise God. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And and of course you can see that just from the testimony that God was using it, and then of course, like anything new, of course, I'm sure you faced opposition to it,
yeah.
you
So
know.
that's the next part of the story is that in the early days it was not easy.
Yeah.
Uh, we were not accepted by the church, and we were rejected by obviously the Satanists, because they were upset
Right.
that somebody's singing about Jesus in their heavy metal genres, and they, whatever. And then the church totally rejected us. I mean, they just were going, no, that just cannot be.
They're kind of like between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, which was the third album. But
Right.
but that truly they picketed the shows. There were Christians out front. I remember specifically after opening for Stryper in Portland, and we were out after the show, literally leading kids to the Lord, and Christian brothers would come up and say, "No, no, 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 you did not get saved. He's not of God. And I was like, what? I'm, I'm telling him about he's accepting Jesus. Well, that's not the Jesus that we know or the one that he should meet. You're not of Jesus and blah, and you're
Wow.
just going, okay. But I knew better, not
Yeah.
because I was a man that had walked with the Lord for a long time, but I was a man that got smacked up right against the side of the head, like, dude, the
Right.
reality is Christ, and there's just no turning back. So
Right.
I knew that I was saved. So
Right.
that was a strange time. And then Bloodgood ended up, going out on the road when there was no circuit, there was no
Mhm.
Yeah.
really no path to follow. Um, and so what was it, like 86, 85, 86? We kind of hit the road, and we just went out with a uh,
Most
RV, and
most of 87
Yeah.
we were on the
we had an
road.
RV and a truck
88.
and a van, and we took the wives and the kids. There was three children, two Safiro kids, and
And Paul
and
Michael,
Paul Michael, and we
who,
went
who
out.
lived the Bloodgood experience and did the Trenches of Rock.
He's the
Right.
producer and director of
Yeah.
Trenches of Rock, so he was out there specifically. He's put the whole thing into a film. It's a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I have it. I have the
So
DVD.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was again all part of the legacy of Bloodgood and the story that was Bloodgood, but it also included just all the other groups that were called at the same time.
Right. Right. It's a
God,
great movement.
yeah,
Great
God,
movement of the spirit using it. Yeah. And
I,
it's interesting, like musical style. Uh, it's almost like they were saying Jesus does, Jesus has only certain music he likes. You
Yeah,
can only listen to the mellow stuff,
that
which is
sounds,
of course crazy, but
yeah,
but yeah, it's amazing. But you guys, stuck through it. I mean, that was your big trials you had to go through to break through, but
yeah,
you were breaking open boundaries that needed to be broken up, and the fruit was there. Like
yeah,
Jesus says, by their fruit you will know them.
yeah.
And of course the fruit was there.
And to this day, I mean, to this day, those establishments that Sanctuary Church, Bob Beeman is still
Right,
the pastor and the head of the
Hmm.
International Sanctuary Church, and there's Loud and Proud, and
right,
I
Yeah.
mean, there are so many testimonies of young men and women that were saved during that time, and
right,
now many of them are pastoring churches. So
right,
the whole
right,
seeds of that went right into that religious spirit that was being carrying the signs saying we weren't of God, to find out that actually we were of God. And
right.
you know so
Yeah.
yeah, we're still going.
Still going strong. So I
Yeah.
was going to also kind of to piggyback on that. Were there some significant memories that you have from touring with Bloodgood? Because you guys obviously not only toured here in the United States, but you were toured all over the world. So were there any significant stories or things that stand out to you from some of the tours that you did over the course of the band's life
Yeah,
history?
I think in the early days, Bloodgood, especially in Europe and in parts of the South in America, but um, uh, there was times in Europe where uh, you really felt the thickness of the darkness of, that you would feel the just the oppression and the
Yeah,
reality of Satan and his strongholds, more so in Europe than in America. Uh,
yeah,
Even though we did feel it in America too, down in the South area, where there was Satanists fasting and praying that we wouldn't come to town, and
mm,
Christians were fasting and praying that we wouldn't come to town.
yeah,
But in Europe, I do remember. I mean, there were stories that were almost unbelievable, like some of the darkness that would come and oppose us were actual, that there was physical manifestations of people being driven back by the light, and there was stories of people being healed in uh, at the concerts. I mean, they just like they'd be healed. Um,
right,
the presence of God was real and manifest in those shows, and we were just willing to be there and to be open and to be led by the Spirit. So yeah, there was a lot of times, a lot of stories, you know.
yeah, yeah. While you were on the road. So, what are some of your most treasured memories you have of Michael Bloodgood, who went to be with the Lord in 2022?
Just that's a deep one right there. So,
Yeah,
um, but I'm going to take it simple. I love to hear him pray. I love to hear him talk about Jesus. And when we'd gather, we'd always pray and we'd always get together before every show. Michael was the final one. He would be the one that would finish the prayer. He was the
yeah,
pastor. He was the spiritual head of the band, and he was respected for it. And he played that role really well. I mean, it wasn't a part. It was who he was.
yeah,
He was witty too, just really funny. The Bloodgood guys, when they would get together, they would just laugh. It was funny. He um he coined the nickname Lesky, and so Les was Lesky,
Yeah,
and I was Joycey.
I miss his voice. I miss his
yeah,
presence, and yeah, I mean, we just Joyce and I just went to Europe, and of course we were doing Les Carlsen stuff, but we were also doing some of the Bloodgood
right,
songs, and people were coming to see Les Carlsen from Bloodgood because they had seen the band. in the 80s
In
and
Germany,
in the
the
90s.
first
Right.
were Bloodgood and
Yeah, and
Carlsen.
so Joyce and I were able to see the fruit. I mean, of the Bloodgood legacy in Europe, and
Yeah.
there were groups of guys that didn't live together, but had gotten together and said, "Hey, Les Carlsen from Bloodgood is going to be in town. We got to go." So there were groups of guys that actually had reunions coming to see us, to see,
Wow.
and to talk about what Bloodgood had done in their lives and our music and how we changed their lives. And that was, I just wish that Michael would have been there.
Yeah. Yeah. The testimony, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm I'm just yeah, that it's a
I'm sure it's very emotional. Yeah. When you
it
think about
is.
it.
It
Oh,
is. And
yeah.
Michael and we did a lot of wonderful things together. We
Yeah.
were in the trenches together, and
Right.
we had a friendship uh, that was, less than Mike. We had our marriages and we had our family and everything else, but we also had a very tight bond that was less than Mike, that him and I understood
Right.
probably better than anybody. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Jesus understood it the most, but that's
To,
something that's always going to be there.
Yeah. And
to
of course, yeah, go ahead. Just go ahead.
today's the fourth anniversary of
Okay.
the day between the show at the BMI. And
Mm.
then the following Sunday was an interview with Les and Mike at the Ark Church. One day we flew home. The very next day, tomorrow will be the fourth anniversary of Michael's stroke. So
Mm.
it's a
Yeah.
heavy time.
Yeah, it's heavy every time it comes around, I'm sure. But I'm we're so reassured that we know he's in glory and
Oh
we'll
yeah.
see him again. And that's like such, but people who lose people without Christ,
Mm,
that they don't have that hope. We know that, all of our loved ones and close friends and family that have gone on that know the Lord, we're going to see them again one day,
yeah.
and it's going to be a glorious day. But it's hard for us here
Yeah. Well,
at a human level.
unfortunately, they may have a false hope because they're always told, "Oh, he's in a better place. He's with." Well,
Yeah,
according to the word, it's not really that simple. You must
no,
accept the sacrifice on the cross. And if you don't
right,
understand that that blood paid for your sin, then you're probably not going to be there.
In a better place.
So when they tell you, "Oh yeah, he's in a better place," he's looking down. Well, that's just something that the devil concocted to keep people from actually going to the Lord. I think.
right.
So yeah, our language uh, in the world is dangerous.
Well, and it's scary that some of that's kind of seeping into the church where you have people kind of like downplaying the reality of hell or the reality of, it's very clear in the scriptures.
Yeah,
They're kind of compromising it to make people feel better. Well, everyone's gonna, uh, get there one way or another, or there is no hell and all of that. But
now
again, you can't compromise the scriptures.
yeah. Now we do have a very powerful Lord with a very, very powerful, potent blood
Yes,
that paid for sin. And he's beyond anything we can imagine. So,
right,
and he's a just God, and he knows the heart of each one of us. And so he's also merciful and gracious. But the bottom line
absolutely,
is you do need to know him. And
yeah,
but he does take into account, I'm sure, when he's on the cross and he says, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." So
exactly,
he takes into account everything because he's just and good, and un, he's amazing. So
yeah,
there's hope for all of us.
yeah. Yeah, and we can never know the state of someone's soul. I mean, that's between them and God. We can't say, you
Yeah,
know, this person's going to the bad place or going there because we never know. You never know
yeah,
deathbed conversions or things of that nature, what God can do and what God has done,
yeah. I just
different
don't
people.
want to be, John, I don't want to be one of those Christians that stands on the side and says, "You guys are all going to hell," and blah, blah, because that is too,
Right,
I do not have that kind of depth of knowledge. And
right.
so like I said, we need to just be careful with the language in the world and how the world frames this whole thing, because we don't want to
Yeah.
come off like judgmental and we know it all and we're self-righteous.
Right. Yeah,
So
the whole
it's,
fire and brimstone message is kind of
yeah, that's a
it's
turn
the
off.
good news. Give the good news. It's good
Yeah,
news.
yeah,
Focus on that, which of course there was a lot of people in the church at the time that it was a condemnatory type message,
yeah,
which I think that turns people away. It
yeah,
doesn't, a lot of people just see that and they, you're losing that opportunity they're going to learn about that if they come to know Christ. They're going to learn what the scriptures say and learn about those things, when they study the Bible for themselves. But,
yeah. And even the brothers and sisters that are in the church today, that a lot of the, and I don't like it, a lot of the heavy metal, so-called heavy metal or whatever guys, or any of the people from that genre, I've seen them pointing their fingers back at the people in the church and criticizing them for being this way or that way.
right, right,
And even I've got tapes of us uh, talking about the evangelists back in the day when we were
right,
heavy metal guys. We were on stage saying, even though some of the brothers on TV are judging us, we are not judging them.
right,
We're
right,
telling you they love God, they just don't understand us. So
right, right.
I think that's how we all should be. Uh,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's the way God wired us, but even back then, because
yeah, yeah,
he's a uniter, he's not a divider.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, and it's amazing the power that he can do in a person's life. I was just uh brought to mind because you were talking about your backstory. Ken Hensley from Uriah Heep.
Mhm.
He came to know the Lord in '93, and he was addicted to cocaine. And when he gave his testimony, he said, "There's no way I could have been healed of that addiction to cocaine unless it was for Christ." So going forward from there, he always recognized, it's just like one more example of how the power of God to,
Yeah,
overcome that darkness and that stronghold that
yeah,
that is brought on, that people
yeah.
get involved in. So,
Look
yeah,
at Brian Head Welch from Corn.
yeah, there's another one. Yeah,
Boy, that guy, he loves God. He
yeah,
loves Jesus. He was totally transformed.
yeah, yeah. Again, the witness of God, very clear for people to see, you know. But what are you going to do with it? Now that you've seen it, and
Yeah.
that's the important part. So,
Is that guy from Uriah Heep still alive? Do you know?
Ken Hensley,
Yeah. Is he the
no,
lead
he,
singer?
yeah, he was the main songwriter.
Yeah.
He was the keyboard player and
Oh,
singer. He did play the guitar as well, and he wrote a lot of the early Uriah Heep songs like "Stealing" and what was that other one they had? They had one song that was a hit that almost um, it's going through my head. I've been forgiven since you came into my life. You
wow.
probably know the song, and that was a song that he wrote, but before he got saved. But it's almost like if you read it, the lyrics now, it's like almost like he's pointing to Christ, kind of like what Kerry Livgren, was writing kind of spiritual lyrics before he came
I'm
to Christ.
smart. I can relate to that because some songs that I wrote were before I was saved, but they were leaning towards that. But I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
saw Uriah Heep when I was a young man. I went to see one of their concerts,
Yeah,
and
I never missed them. I did. I mean, I never got to see them. I went to a lot of concerts growing up when it was affordable to go to concerts. I have my concert tickets. They were like $7 or $8 back then
yeah, right.
to get into the concerts. But I never got to see them. But I was a big fan of their live album, and then Ken Hensley later on with his solo stuff. But he passed away during the pandemic. I think he passed away in 2020.
Oh,
Um, but he did actually do a uh, full, like, kind of a gospel album called "A Glimpse of Glory," which was all like kind of praise and worship songs that he did.
awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
so it was neat.
Yeah,
So
there's fruit all over the place here,
yeah,
thanks to
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Without so, I was going to move into like what is your approach to songwriting? What is the process that you have when you sit down to write music? and lyrics?
Well, my process is that I'm open 24/7 for whatever comes my way. Yeah. I just, I play guitar a little bit. I've been playing a lot more recently in the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And uh, I just, I have no fear when it comes to melody or lyrics. I just go for it. I think that I'm very confident that the Lord is always available to help me when I'm asking for
Right.
words or lyrics or melodies or anything, or even ideas or uh, concepts, stories to
Right.
tell. And so I don't really question what comes in this brain. And
And a
Yeah.
lot comes in that brain. There's there's many a time uh he's in the shower and he'll just start singing, and I'll have to just go and grab the phone and record what's happening because I know, oh, this is going to be a song.
Yeah, yeah,
Or he'll just start playing guitar and start singing, and I have to remind him, honey, turn on the guitar, turn on the mic when you start because magic comes out. And
yeah,
he's so spontaneous that, you go back and say, hey, do that again.
yeah,
What? Do
which one?
I don't remember what.
yeah.
So
So
you
you
got
got to
to catch
record.
it on the spot.
That
Yeah,
already went through the station.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. How
He's
about you, Joyce? Do you like, because you've been involved in some songwriting as well, and you sang, of course, the closing track on the He's Coming and song, which you have a wonderful voice. I
Thank you.
was very happy to hear your your voice on that album as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's very prolific, actually, whenever she decides to write.
Yeah, I'm not spontaneous like Les is. I
yeah,
I sit down to write and I calculate and I redo lines and I'll put a whole bunch of thoughts together and then I'll go and edit and do stuff.
right,
And he's more stream of consciousness. He
right.
just opens his mouth and sings and the song comes out.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's a little more of a process for me.
Which
yeah,
is very helpful for a guy like me because she's got some good boundaries. And, for me, she's taught me a lot actually about arrangement and
yeah,
songwriting just because of her method.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the way to describe it is he's kind of like the wild stallion, and I'm the one who puts the saddle on him, you know.
That's okay. Now, okay. This is a Christian show. I don't think I've ever done anything like that.
Okay, wait a second.
Could you have a
I
different?
totally didn't mean it like that.
Okay,
No.
of course not. But it's it could,
Yeah.
You
Well,
know what I mean? He's just there's so much to
yeah.
and and sometimes it's just like like the piece of coal that you have to make into the diamond. It
Right.
requires some pressure and
Right.
scraping yeah. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe a bridle. I don't know. But, and
Yeah.
then you bareback would be worse. Oh my gosh. Okay.
you will just edit all that out. So
No, I don't think he has to.
I think
No,
I don't think I have to.
no. I
It shows how connected the two of you are. I think it's the
we
way
can
you
be on
illustrated
yeah,
it.
we can be
Yeah.
on the edge a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact,
okay, we're
God
married.
invented all that stuff anyway. So,
Yeah,
but
I'd like to keep the interviews as is because I think it's like, it's important. You're showing how God has definitely joined you two together, right? What
yeah,
God has joined together,
yes.
and
So
you complement each other.
yeah, so you'll probably edit out the part where she says you should edit that out.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, so I'm going to get us back on track here.
Okay,
Yeah.
We're talking about songwriting, and so there are other people involved in our songwriting.
yes,
And so, there's the raw material. Les will
Right.
play guitar and bass, and we put a drum machine, and we kind of, put the vocal together, and then we go to the guitar players, Paul Jackson and Craig
Right.
Church,
Yep.
and they take what Les has done and work with it. or add to it, and they the magic just keeps happening. The
Yeah.
bass player adds magic.
Juan Van Dunk.
And
Yeah.
Dan Needham is a studio guy that
And this is all current. This is current.
Right. The current, right. Yeah.
And Paul and Craig have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you go
Gotcha.
back to the Bloodgood material, some of the songs you listed, I think Bad Credit and Changing Me ended up being on some form of those being on Bloodgood albums. I
Yeah.
wrote
Why don't,
those.
yeah. Why don't you talk about those? We can get into the songs now if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
those,
Bad Credit, I think that was one of the very first songs I ever wrote in my life, and I wrote it on guitar. It's probably got 3 chords in it, something I probably hammered out. Um, and ended up being on the 1971 album, the
right.
Joshua album, 1971, Les Carlsen. So it was there, and then it was later on, uh, the group Fred Schwartz with Don Cromwell in it. We did it, but we never recorded it. So let's set that there. After that came Bloodgood, and I did a version of it that was changed with Kevin Whistler had a really cool line. And so I went back to, I said, I got to get Bad Credit on this Bloodgood album. Turned it into It's All Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I changed the choruses of it, but I used the verses. Um,
Right.
and and then after that, then I went back to Don Cromwell. So it's on the Don Cromwell album
on the
because we
east
used to
side,
play
yeah.
it. So it's
Right.
and that's it. I mean, but that was one of those songs that God gave me. And there's some line in there about, praying and I feel it in my heart kind of stuff. That was written before I knew Jesus. So
Yeah.
there he is doing what he does, planting the seeds along the way. Uh,
Yep.
and then Changing Me was a song that I actually wrote when I was in Hair in Miami. And I was playing the lead role in the Miami show down there. And back then, I was kind of like this local superstar because Broadway was a big deal. And I had
Right.
endorsed some clothing uh, stores, some chains. And so they wanted me to write a jingle for me and the music and for the radio. And I wrote a song called Changing Me with a guy that I don't even remember the guy that played guitar on it with me.
That's really appropriate, though, if you're representing a clothing store.
Changing Me, yeah.
Changing Me. Yeah.
Good title.
It was a good title.
And
Sorry.
but again, God's got a sense of humor, doesn't he?
He does.
So anyway, so that song was actually done. It was written for me to be on the radio to promote a clothing store, and and the lyrics were crazy. I can't taste what I'm eating. I mean, all this stuff. Uh, but it ended up being on a Bloodgood album on Out of the Darkness, I think. Yeah, and I rewrote some of it, but
Right.
that's interesting, I guess. Those 2 songs in particular.
Yeah. We're
So
refashioned.
you had other songs you were going to ask about.
Yeah. We can move on to Accept the Lamb and What's Following the Grave from the first Bloodgood full-length album.
So, Except the Lamb, David had this great song, Run in the Night, and but it had no intro and it had no hook. And I used to always be impressed by that real high falsetto that any of the bands would use. I know the Beatles used it in
Yeah.
whatever got what I don't know what they did, but they used it sometimes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was just one of those things that in my ear and in my heart, I thought it always is very impressive, and of course the Bee Gees, they had those high notes, and so I don't know, David was sitting there showing me that song, and I said, well, how about, if we open it with "Accept the Lamb of the Living God, accept the Lamb," and he was like, yeah, and so it ended up that was the beginning of the first Bloodgood album, and it was this big falsetto intro
Yeah.
statement,
Yeah.
except the Lamb of the living God. And it was just a great opener. So again, thank you,
It really is.
Jesus. But yeah, that's what I wrote in the song, and David wrote all the verse feel to it. Um, so that's how that came about. And the other song was,
What's Following the Grave?
yeah, What's Following the Grave? That was both David and I that wrote that.
Yeah.
David came up with that. Um, he came up with that it was I think an echo thing that just kind of grooved and it grooved and it grooved. And I came up with the lyrics and melody on that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
lost this evening. Can't you trust anyone at all? Uh, that was a gift. I mean, that was just a gift. That was, I think the Lord was, I remember we did that at the Paramount show, opening for Striper. And it
Yeah.
was such a great question. What's following the grave? You guys don't know. You got to consider this. But I think, again, it was a gift. And the Lord used me in that and David. And yeah, I think that song's got a lot of impact. And then it's got that sort
Yeah.
of bluesy breakdown, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
which was,
Definitely.
going back to what I really loved is that rhythm and blues feel. So, uh, yeah, and then that one high note that I hit with no vibrato. It just again, it just seemed like a lot of that stuff was just a flat out gift from heaven, you
Yeah.
know, because I think those songs were very essential on that first album, and it made a lot of people think as to where am I at right now.
Yeah, and I love that it opens that way. It drew me in the first time I heard it with the a cappella introduction before it goes
Yeah,
into the heaviness, you know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it was very, very powerful, you know, powerful songs. How about Alone in Suicide from Detonation?
Okay, so Alone in Suicide, David is the one that came up with the original verses on the song, um, and just the feel for it. And so we started rehearsing that. He showed me how it went. Who cares? Who weeps?
Yeah,
Um, uh, and I just thought it was just really clever, the way that the the way he
The imagery,
the
yeah.
imagery, yeah, the way that
yeah,
he really described this, but he had there was no
Resolution.
sense of resolution, and so I wrote the entire resolution
Salvation
part.
calls.
Salvation calls to
yeah,
the lonely, on the abused, that. Um, so anyway, so we co-wrote the song, and
yeah. Very powerful song, very powerful message that's needed, I think, too, because you know, still a problem today, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, you
Have
know.
you've seen the Bloodgood Rock Theater, right?
The
yeah,
Theatrical version
shaking
where
the
it's
world
live
live
in
in.
America and shaking the world.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had the original VHS cassettes of that
Yeah. So
from
that
back
was
in the day.
Joyce that killed herself, that cut her
Yeah.
wrist on.
In Alone in
Yeah.
Suicide, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was I mean that was a great wedding of the music and the theatrical aspect
Yeah.
for those two albums. So I was glad that they got reissued um later on. Well, all
On
the Blood
DVD.
Good ones, but the
Mhm.
live albums too, because those are ones I had the video cassettes of them, but the I think I had at one point I had gotten rid of some of my physical stuff. Um
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but then I would got it back again. Those were two. The blood, all the other Blood Good I had held on to, but for some reason, those live albums had gone.
I
So when they
think
were reissued, I was happy.
Bill Rocks did that, didn't he?
I believe so. Yeah,
He
yeah,
was the one that reissued those
yeah.
two.
He reissued
Yeah.
this. I know.
I've
But
seen those in vinyl somewhere. I don't know where, but they were somewhere.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting now how the vinyl is coming back now too. I mean, I grew up with the vinyl, but then I got more into the CD because I liked the fact of well, the vinyl I grew up with, was not like the quality they put out now, the 180 gram. So you would have a lot of that. Like I'd buy a brand new album and I'd hear the surface noise and the clicks and pops, which always used to like annoy me a little bit. But
Mm.
so when CDs came out and you had that clean sound without that, I was but
Yeah,
but the vinyl today though, because I have a few, I collect a little bit of the vinyl, but it's totally different, very quiet and very clean sounding.
has a softer attack.
Right, because the
And,
dB is lower, yeah.
and the thing about vinyl, I think, this is my own personal. I would suggest you turn it up to 11, or
Yeah.
12 maybe if you can get
Or
it to
12.
12. Yeah, because vinyl is mellow enough to do it, whereas
Yeah,
CDs sometimes can be a little more brittle. That was
yeah,
because I made that transformation in my life.
right,
So I was
right,
totally into vinyl for several years and analog. And then when CDs came out, I think that came out just after we had done the first album. We ended up doing some CDs on that. And I thought, oh, they sound so brittle and they don't
right.
have soul and all that. But they perfected a lot of that later on too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
It was new.
engineers started to use some of the analog outboard
Yeah,
gear and they softened some things up. And now things sound fantastic digitally.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
that was, I think, an issue with the CDs. It depended on who was mastering it and the
oh yeah,
levels and everything. And there's still a problem today. I've heard like if you have a mastering engineer who uh, compresses the CD music where they take away all the dynamic range and make everything the same volume. I can't even listen to CDs like that. It actually hurts my ears because you've
yeah.
removed all the dynamic range out of it. It
And
doesn't
there's a
sound
lot
good.
of people that are there's different levels of knowledge and experience.
Yeah,
Both my solo albums were mastered by Ted uh, Jensen.
yeah, Ted Jensen. Yeah,
Sterling, yeah, Ted Jensen. I mean, he did Hotel California, and I mean, he's got won several
yeah,
awards. And so the last album he did Free Will, the CD, he mastered that, and I sent it back again. Uh, After he'd done that, I said, okay, well, let's master for vinyl.
right,
So
right.
he mastered for CD and he mastered for vinyl. So
Right.
the vinyl release of Free Will should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to that. All right, how about Seven from Rockin' a Hard Place? One of my favorites on there. The way that builds up.
Seven. Okay, the story behind Seven is that was one of those songs that I brought. I'm going to jump backwards to Crucify because it wasn't on the list.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
But back in the day when we were ready to do that second album, um, uh, I brought in Crucify, and the band was like, Michael and David, right? He doesn't have any hooks. I don't know if this is going to work. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We got to do this. So Paul Jackson is the one that gave me, I said, Paul, I want the heaviest double kick metal you can imagine. Just give it to me and I'm going to write something to it. And so he did that. And out of that
Yeah,
came Crucified. Okay.
yeah.
And it wasn't like Aaron throwing the gold into the fire and out came a golden calf, but it was similar in a holy way. Uh,
Yeah,
so anyway, so I had this screaming metal, and then I wanted to do that whole thing with Pilate and Jesus. So
right.
so that came, and then Messiah came. So I had said this is going to be a big hit, and they were like, no, and I'm like, yes, and we did it, and I rest my case.
Yeah.
So the same thing happened with Seven.
Yeah.
Brought it to him. Oh man, it doesn't have. I don't know. It's boom, boom, boom. I said, I don't know. There's something about it. And Paul Jackson was the guy that did that. I tagged on that little intro, um, you know,
Yeah, at the very beginning before
with the
it kicks
strings
in.
and everything
Yeah,
else, with the guy come in and arrange the strings. The faithful witness,
yeah,
firstborn from the dead. And it was so
yeah,
moving. And then it goes into Seven. So it ended up that it was, again, it was a good call. Um, so I guess I'm bragging a little bit on my call there. but it's because to me that's part of being an artist that you sense also
Yeah.
what works and what doesn't work. So
Yeah.
um and so having a good feel for what people might like is a good thing. Um, you know, uh,
Yeah, and Seven to me, Seven is one of the most memorable songs on that album. You know,
yeah,
I can, I hear this title and it runs through my head. So
yeah,
it definitely had
yeah,
that hook in it.
and it was one of those things that I thought, wow, what a great thing to do after Crucify Messiah and
Right,
Seven
right,
Resurrection and you know
right.
all of that. I'm always thinking theatrical when it comes to music.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
so
How
that's
about American and Top of the Mountain from Out of the Darkness?
okay. So America, uh, uh, Out of the Darkness was when David had just left the band. And that was a surprise to us because we thought, well, I mean, Dave, the three of
Yeah,
us were so strong together, and but David just couldn't he couldn't tour anymore, and he knew that if he wasn't going to tour with us, he probably wouldn't be in the band, and so he opted to not be in the band. He did some solo projects, which were fantastic. And he didn't have to go on the road. And I don't think he ever toured with those albums. But he knew that with Bloodgood, he was going to have to tour because the whole idea with Bloodgood was we had to be seen live so we could preach the gospel. That was
right,
the point.
right.
And so Michael and I looked at each other and said, wow, we got to do this whole album without David. And so him and I started to woodshed, and we you know, came up with that song, America, and we co-wrote that, and it was
Yeah,
it was strong. And then Top of the Mountain was primarily me and Paul. I know Michael is a writer on there. I don't really recall what Michael did on that song, but he did something obviously because he was on there. But it my memory is that Paul and I wrote that song. Uh,
right.
Paul probably came to me with the music, the intro music, and I remember when, we just went.
Yeah,
And uh, so Michael probably contributed some sort of real powerful arrangemental or something, but it was a song that was written by me and Michael and Paul. But uh,
yeah. It's another one of those ones that's really kind of like it's like almost like epic the way you know, how it
yeah,
builds up and everything.
yeah. So are
Yeah.
you talking epic from my latest album?
Yeah, we are. We're going to talk about that one.
Okay. So,
Definitely.
so yeah, so that song, um, and Kevin Whistler played the drums on that. Uh, that was that was that's a big song, and
Yeah.
Seven, you're talking about?
no, no,
Oh, epic.
Top of the Mountain,
Oh,
and
okay.
and Joyce and I actually just did a version of that in Germany, and it was fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
but
I
just
love that song.
the idea of that's how you climb to the top of the mountain on your knees, and
On your knees, yeah.
it's
Through
so pure.
prayer.
It's so
Yeah.
pure.
Yeah, absolutely. How about Lies in the Dark from All Stand Together?
That was totally Michael. He wrote all of that, and it was really fascinating for me because I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed singing it because the opening verses were so low.
Right.
You had never heard my voice that low, babe.
Yeah.
You whisper in my ear.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I was going, oh, that's cool, Mike. Thanks. So,
It's exploring the rest of the range of your voice.
yeah, the cobwebs started flying away. Uh, yeah, that album, that whole album, that All Stand Together album is just a magnificent piece of work. Um, but that was Michael's song, and it was uh, just a great song. Um, I always thought that that song should have been even bigger than it was. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if the Lies in the Dark place didn't reach the height that it could have. Um, for whatever reason, it's still a fantastic song, but as
Yeah,
an
yeah,
artist, I was thinking maybe it could have gone a little higher. Um, but it's an incredible song. And
yeah. Yeah, and that one all stand together is kind of a more difficult one to find because that was on the Broken records, but I don't
yeah,
believe it's been reissued. I had to track that one down for to find it on CD.
yeah.
I may have had it earlier in some form, but I think I got
Well,
it second hand.
yeah, one of the songs from that album, SOS, was in the movie, in the Jesus
Yeah,
movie.
that's
And
correct. Yeah,
that was because we own publishing, but we don't own all the publishing. So
yeah,
s- Capital or whoever's got that portion of it. Um, but I suppose that, that could be, I mean, it's there. You've seen
yeah,
you've seen other Bloodgood albums that have been repackaged or and put out. I mean, there's nothing that would stop that from happening other than
yeah,
finding somebody
yeah.
that is willing to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if Broken Records, I don't know who owns that. If Capital Christian Music owns that, that
Yeah,
would be. I know Greg from Girder works with them, the Capital Christian Music. If they own it,
yeah.
that could
Yeah,
be.
so it doesn't matter. I mean, anybody can go there and say, "Hey, I'd like to do this." I mean, it doesn't have to be the Bloodgood band. It can be anybody. I mean, anybody who wants
Right.
to put the money up to do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is out there, and I pray that it does get out again. But a lot of that, Oz and I took that and took the keyboards off, and we reimagined some of that stuff, and it's in the movie in Trenches of Rock.
Right.
So
Right. You
when
had all
you
the
hear
different
that,
versions.
you're
Yeah.
hearing uh, uh, Oz Fox added his guitars. I re-sang some things, but some of it was remixed by David Safiro, and
Right.
Oz and I worked on that for almost a half year, just bringing it up to that other more of a rock level. But if you go back to the original, it's perfect the way it is, with the
Yeah.
keyboards and just the intent and the style
Yeah.
of mix and all that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fantastic record.
Yeah. Definitely. How about In the Trenches from Dangerously Close?
Yeah, that was Michael's riff. He came up with the awesome
Yeah.
heavy metal riff, and it was his concept and his design. Um, I helped. I think I wrote the second verse or something. Or I helped him with the verse, and then I wrote "Sitting in the dirt, fear and sweat. Think about the things that we haven't done yet."
Yeah.
That was a good way to end it, and it just tied into. It kind of summed up the idea of being in the trenches, sort of thing. So there was a real good example of a good co-write with Mike and I. But I would say uh, most of it was Michael's baby. I
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
helped.
Was that any kind of inspiration from that song? Why the documentary was called "The Trenches of Rock"? Was that kind of coming with that, or that was just something?
I, I think that the song is so powerful that that it was just perfect. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
I think it was a good choice from Paul Michael Bloodgood to choose that
Right.
as the theme. And uh, in the album Dangerously Close, I really felt that was the big brother. That was the killer song. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Great song. So let's take a detour to your album with Carlson Cromwell,
Yeah.
"The Lucky Side." That's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
and like maybe talk about that song and maybe about how that album came to be. Um, that you put that together in 2015.
Yeah, I think that 2015 there was that we were not doing very much. We had done Dangerously Close, and uh, my son passed away immediately after we released that. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know if you
Good to
know
hear
about
that.
that, but
Yeah.
so I was affected for sure. Everybody else in the band too was affected. Jeff was pretty. Uh,
Yeah.
everybody. Jeff would be the guy we'd go to and say, "Jeff, is this heavy enough for the next Bloodgood album?" And he'd let us know. He was
Yeah.
nothing like me. He was very mellow and very laid back,
Yeah.
and he's just a sweetheart. But so uh, just I don't know, and I don't know what happened. Other than that, uh, we just everything kind of cooled off,
Right.
and then so I was there wanting to be creative, and Don and I got together. Don had this. He's got this DC Live with Don Cromwell. It's a podcast that's been on for years now. And so he had me on there one time, and I got together with him, and we were in the Fred Schwartz band together, and you know
Right.
we had opened for Blue Oyster Cult and Fleetwood Mac, and uh, we had we'd done some stuff together, um, but then he got into um, Air Supply and he got into Eddie Money. But anyway,
Right.
years had passed, and we got together, and we'd always just enjoyed working. And so we started writing songs together, and we put this album together, and it was just so much fun. I would drive 80 miles one way to his house in the
Wow.
afternoon,
Yeah.
about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then drive home. And but we did it in his studio in Westgate or Westlake Village,
Right.
and we just loved doing it. We loved playing together, writing together, and we came up with some pretty good stuff. Um, yeah. So,
Yeah. I was giving it a listen, the whole thing on streaming.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
so,
Don played all the instruments, and he programmed the drums.
right. Right.
And
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really good piece
Yeah,
of
and it's a
music.
different style, like that classic rock kind of 70s type thing. It's a nice blend, and it's nice, shows a different side of your vocal,
Yeah,
with different type of style. So, but
yeah, I really enjoyed that, and really enjoyed it. And it is a fun album to listen to when you're driving. It's
yeah,
pretty fun, and yeah,
yeah, definitely that kind of an album. So,
yeah.
how about Judas is Dead from He's Coming?
Judas is Dead was going to be on the new Bloodgood album before Michael had his stroke. We were thinking that that would be one of the songs that would make it. And then when we realized there's not going to be, or I realized that there's not going to be a Bloodgood album, I thought, you know what, these songs that I wrote, uh, I'm going to put them on my solo album because I can't take a song like that and not do it
Right.
for any reason. And so yeah, I mean, when you get stuff like that from the Lord, it's a gift. You don't hide it. You don't put it away.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it now. Basically, the way that started was Oz gave me the music that's pretty much there, and I just took it and listened to it over and over and over, and I had this idea of Judas is Dead. And then, so I wrote the lyrics and the melody
Yeah.
to it. And then I went to Oz's house in Vegas. Joyce went with me, I think.
Yeah.
And Oz, literally, we just kind of went through the song, and Oz produced me and, was there coaching, and we were co-writing with
He
it.
did
And
all the instruments, you said.
he did all the instruments. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oz did all the instruments. And on my album, Oz did all the instruments and programmed the drums. And that one was the only one that was not uh,
Mastered.
mastered, or it was the only one on the album that was not it was mastered, but it was
Not mastered by
mixed.
Sterling.
It was mixed by David Safiro and Oz Fox, and
Right.
yeah, and it was mastered by Sterling.
Oh, it
Yes,
was. That's right. It was just mastered.
But anyway, uh, it worked uh, for the beginning of before Crucify. You know,
Right.
Jesus is dead, Crucify, Messiah. That was
Yeah.
the
The
idea.
great trilogy.
It was like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And but that's how that happened, and Oz and I did it together, and we love working together. We wrote some songs for Dangerously Close that were pretty cool too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move to your latest album, and we'll get to Epic, which we mentioned earlier, and then Free Will, the title track as well.
Yeah. Okay, so with the newest album, um, I think that the newest album really was,
Well, Epic, you wrote
well,
a long time ago.
yeah, I think that's pretty much the story with everybody, though. You know, people go, well, it's on. I mean, if you go and look at some history, disc history, and you read the stories, there were a
Yeah,
lot. There were a lot of Beatles songs that were written at another time and came out, you know, like it was a new album kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
It's not final till it's vinyl, right? Um, I just think that Epic was started back uh, and was submitted probably for a Bloodgood song that I know Michael had heard it and it didn't move him one way or the other. So it was no issue. It was just like, okay, well, that's probably not going to be a Bloodgood song. Um, and He's Coming, I don't think was going to be a Bloodgood song either. Uh,
Free Will. Is Epic and Free Will are the
Free Will might have been, could have been, possibly.
Yeah, that is a great riff. I love the riff on that one.
Yeah.
that's
Free Will.
Jackson.
Jackson did the music. Paul Jackson did the music to that, and I supplied the vocal thing after
Yeah,
he had given me the music. And he gave us a little bit of the music. That's where I think Joyce jumped in and took the little that he gave us, and she lengthened it into an arrangement that I could sing to. And but yeah, Paul and I wrote that one. So
yeah.
so you know, so I have songs that are written now that I can visualize for the next album or the album after that. It's just not their time, but they're going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna come out.
And then there's new stuff that's happening that I'm going. I really want to start this song because I think it's going to be fantastic. But this album here, Epic, was one of those songs that was a long progression of believing in it. I mean, I absolutely, I
Yeah.
just, as an artist, to me, it's one of my finest things, you know, just from
It
the,
is epic. It's called epic, and
Yeah.
it is epic. It's just really the way it builds up. It's just, it's
It,
and I think it fits really well on the album too. The album's a little bit. I feel like with the new album, it's a little. There's a little bit more exploration musically than the first one. You know, so there's which I like. You have like I think the first four tracks are kind of like that what you had in the first, but then I think you'd explore some more musical avenues, which was nice at the latter part of the album. So I think
yeah,
it's a very well, a lot of good variety on it.
yeah, sort of the gate opened at Epic because we started with Truth and
Right,
Love, um,
right,
Free Will and He's
Free Will
God
and
are the
He's
first
God.
three. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Which,
Yeah,
by the way, He's God is also available for streaming now. So both Free Will and He's God.
those are the two singles that are actually released and they are streaming.
Yeah, and then we're
yeah.
going to release the entire album on March 20th.
March 20th. Okay, so the whole
But,
album will be
but I
there.
do want to
Okay.
say the first time that I heard Epic mastered and mixed it and mastered, I wept.
Yeah.
Must be very satisfying, yeah, when you
It
see your
was
song from creation to the
well,
finished product.
well, you know, sometimes you get the rare opportunity to listen to something that you've done where you're not thinking about all the process.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
for some reason, I got to hear it one time as if I'd never heard it
Yeah.
before,
Objectively.
and
Right.
it was like, oh my gosh, thank you. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That song went through a lot of iterations. You know, it um, got tweaked and arrangement wise, things got moved around. And
it's crazy. I actually play guitar in there. I'm playing the lead, that real rough lead, and some of the things that sound, I don't know, they're kind of organic and but they were
Right.
appropriate. And the guys in the band said, no, you got to leave those parts in there. We don't have to replay them. Just keep it.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, sometimes when you're a sophomore, you can contribute something that sounds real cool with the group.
Yeah, yeah. Now you said it is coming out on vinyl. Is that
Yeah,
correct? You said, yeah. So
yeah.
that's you have a date for that, or you know
Um,
when it's
It
going to be?
it's in process
It's in
somewhere.
process now.
It's in
Okay.
Czechoslovakia, and I don't know where in the process it is, but
I think
Girder is doing
I
it.
think it's on a boat right now being
Yeah,
shipped
maybe.
across
I
the
don't know.
ocean.
Oh
February,
yeah, so
March.
it's coming out on Girder too. Yeah. So
Yeah, it could be late February. We don't know.
yeah, I probably worked on it, and I'm asking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
probably
did.
copy edited it,
You
yeah.
but I
did.
probably
Thank you,
You
copied
got
it
a
John.
myself.
credit on there.
But
Um,
yeah, the vinyl version, I'm interested to hear that album on vinyl to
And
get that
Sterling mastered
I,
it
I
specifically for
told him
vinyl.
that.
He told
for
me.
vinyl. Yeah, which yeah, it's a
Yeah,
definitely different
and
process.
I heard the test pressing, and yeah, it sounds like vinyl. It's got that like you can turn it up to 25.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just not. It's going to stay right in your face, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna
Big,
be great.
thick bass groove bottom, kick drum stuff. Nice.
So
Uh,
I was gonna ask, and you kind of answered this a little bit, but I was gonna ask what your future plans are musically. So you are planning on coming out with another album at some point in the future?
my plan is like that scripture that says, we're going to do this, this, and that, and all that. My plan is I'm going to just try to keep breathing in and out and stay alive and do whatever. But what we naturally do is we make music and we love to make it. It's
Yeah,
life
yeah,
giving to us. And so as long as we can do it,
Yeah. And
I act as if, I'm going to do more albums.
and
yeah.
I we might take a different, we haven't really actually discussed it, but we might take a different approach rather than letting 2 or 3 years go by before and just release singles more on
Oh
a
yeah,
more regular basis
So when
and
we've
then
done
do
enough singles, we can
compilations.
say,
And
"Oh, this was the
collect it
next
into an
album."
album. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think that's a trend that's happening with a lot of different acts. So that
yeah.
way
That's
we
true.
don't we can just kind of go for it, and then because back in the day, when I'm talking back in the day, it's back, but that's what record companies used to do. They'd go, "Well, we need another album. You guys aren't doing anything, so what do you got?" And then they'd start to put things together, and then you'd have an album. And back in the early days, they used to release 45s.
Right.
And, you know, after
Singles, yeah.
Elvis had 5 or 6 different hits, they'd put them all on an album. And then that was the album was
And that became
like,
the album. Yeah, yeah. That's what I started off
was
with
all
the
the hits.
45. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of coming back to that now because the attention span of people these days is short for the most
Yeah.
part. Life is high energy. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, it works with today's thing. I mean, I also remember when growing up with the albums, they you would make some of these artists put out 2 albums in a year.
Yeah.
But of course, with vinyl, you have the limitation of you couldn't like fit 75 minutes of music on one vinyl record. So you
Yeah.
had like maybe 2 albums that came out in the year from the same band, but it was like 30 minutes and 30 minutes
Yeah,
of
and
music.
radio
Yeah,
airplay
and
was
regular.
two
Yeah,
and a half minutes. You weren't going to get much more than that. So
yeah.
now I noticed there was a review on this new album that some of the songs weren't as long as somebody would like them to be. But I'm going, you know what? Uh, the song is a song. I mean, some of the greatest songs you ever heard weren't that long.
Well, yeah, that wasn't it the rule,
If you
like
want-
with hit records in the 50s and 60s, it couldn't be longer than 3 minutes or something like
oh,
that.
Yeah.
yeah, that was
And
stretching it.
that was stretching it. I mean, they wanted them short.
The answer there is, hey, if it's not long enough, play it again.
Yeah. Listen to it again. Enjoy
Yeah.
it again.
And
But
really that's on purpose because a few of the songs we axed them. We no don't need that verse. It takes too long to get to the chorus. And no, we don't
yeah,
need to do that riff again over here. It's a one-time thing in the song. And so it was purposeful to streamline it and just keep all the quality. Because yeah, I mean, we could have drawn them all out to be 5 minutes, but
I'd rather have people engaged in my songwriting and and have the experience of the song, do what it does, and then you're on to something else.
yeah,
It's horrible that it's so long that you're seeing people yawning because the bass player had to have a solo and this and that, and they had to everybody got really pleased by playing on the record. But yeah, we write songs.
Right.
So, and that's why when I know that somebody's going to listen to our album, I say, would you please listen to the whole album? It's
Exactly.
designed for you to be entertained,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and that's what I grew up with too. We experienced albums. We sat down and we listened to the whole thing, and
Yeah,
you actually sat there, you paid attention to it, you followed the lyrics, and you got the whole experience, which I think, of course, in the streaming age with the younger generation, that's lost. They
yeah,
don't, although it's coming back.
yeah,
Because I said, like, I'm a public high school teacher, and I'm amazed that I have some students that they are collecting vinyl now. They're into it.
yeah.
They're getting into the physical because they're realizing that, it's there's that tactile that's missing with
Yes.
when you don't have when it's just streaming.
Oh yeah.
They just have a
We we
playlist.
we have a brilliant youth in America, even though there's a lot of, no, they're failing or this or that. But there's a sense of that. I mean, there's a movement in the youth movement now, even moving towards God. That takes some
Yeah,
intelligence. That takes some
yeah,
gift. So there's a lot of precious kids out
Yeah.
there.
Hope.
yeah.
And
They're
so they
coming.
are going to discover, and this is what I really want to, as an older guy, I want to promote. Everybody's got a lot going on their plate. How about taking a little bit over a half hour, under 40 minutes, put some headsets on and just listen, listen to albums. Give
Yeah,
the artists their due. Look at the artists the way that they are designing their music and putting things together. So,
yeah, yeah. I think
having
it's
said all that, we're going to release a bunch of singles.
but it will be an album at one point. So, well, the latest Petra album, which just came out, Hope, is only 35 minutes. So it's the same type of thing. It's like the songs, they're in the 3, maybe 4
Yeah,
minute range, but it
I
gets the
think
job done,
I think ours is almost just under 40. It's 39 something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I think again, you're going, well, yeah, I don't have like an hour to listen to the whole hour, you know. So yeah, we're just going with the flow sort of, I guess, and still bringing along some of our
yeah. And I always say, if you want to listen to the longer type of music songs, that you go to progressive rock, which I was always a big fan of. And there are bands coming out. There's some great Christian progressive rock bands that are out now that are doing the
yeah,
longer track. Well, even Phil Keaggy with the Cosmic Cathedral project, they have like a 40-minute song on there. So
yeah.
a
So
lot
I
of movements in that one,
I
but
think we attempted to scratch that itch with Epic and Make Way.
yeah.
That was kind of this is our, because Make Way has got some interesting feel to it
Mhm.
in
Right.
following Epic.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that's good. So I was gonna close with asking you, was there anything else you'd like to share today? Anything that I didn't ask that you would like to add to the conversation? And you as well, Joyce, other things that maybe I didn't get to.
How
Or any
about,
closing statement you'd like to make, it's
is
fine.
this a closing statement?
Clothing
Could be
statement.
a
How about
closing
how
statement,
about
yeah.
uh, how about Joyce's contribution with Bite My.
Yeah, 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 because I think I had that on here. Did I skip over that?
Mm.
Maybe I missed that question. I was going to ask you, well, I can ask it now. I was going to ask you, Joyce, about all your different roles throughout the years, like how your support roles you do, because you've done more than just singing. You've done you want to discuss about all the different contributions you've made throughout the years with supporting Les's music.
Uh, sure. Um, so starting with the first Bloodgood album, um, the band had been doing covers, just to practice and do Ronnie James Dio, whatever stuff, just
Right,
to practice being a band.
Not publicly.
No, no, just during the
right,
rehearsals. And then they
right.
were like, okay, well, let's do some original stuff. And they were going to rehearsal, and I gave Les some lyrics, and I said, here, see if you can, jam these.
Can I
And
tell him what it was?
sure, go ahead.
So she gives me the lyrics to this little Bloodgood song called Anguish and Pain. She,
Great
she,
song.
she wrote the lyrics to that. And
Fantastic.
that's the first song we ever recorded, actually.
So that
Yeah.
was, my first involvement. And then I wrote Mad Dog World too, but the chorus of it got changed. Um, Sang, yeah, well, when they went on tour, I was the tour manager and the lighting director. So I would run lights while
Right.
they were doing. Sometimes I sang from the light board. Um,
So when I did those double screams where I harmonized with myself on the record, that was me. But live, she would hit those notes for one of those would be
Yeah.
her. Because back then you couldn't.
you didn't work with tracks or anything.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
then so that was my involvement there. And then in rock theater, um, I was part of the team. It was Les and Michael and Marilyn and I were kind of the team, but it was mostly Les and I because of our theatrical background that kind of led the production and putting the songs together. And
Hmm.
so I was involved there, and yeah, always kind of had some sort of involvement with the Bloodgood project. And then when that was over, then he started learning how to do a garage band and Logic. But then it was he said, "Could you come and press this button while I do?" So he needed help, and so
Right.
I became the engineer. I just learned Logic and became the engineer, and then got involved with the arranging and got a little bit more, in touch with the whole recording project.
Well, yeah, engineered a lot of it.
Yeah, I
So
was the recording engineer for both He's Coming and Free Will.
Yeah.
And then of course, I sang harmony with him, and got to do that song "Return Me to the Fire" that was on He's Coming. I
Yeah.
actually wrote that with Craig Church um, back in '87, I think. It was when
yeah,
Bloodgood was first taking off, and Frontline Records was looking at me as an artist, as possibly being an artist, but that fell through for whatever reason, and that song got shelved. So we resurrected it for He's Coming
well,
and gave it a more modern
the
treatment.
reason it fell through was that I think that the record company made a what they thought was a good decision, that it would be weird to sign Joyce and separate Les and Joyce in two different directions in careers. So
Yeah, it would
they
have
were
been like
probably thinking
Babs
it
and the
wasn't,
Dewlangs and Fred
yeah,
Schwartz.
they're probably thinking that's probably not a good idea.
That's a good idea.
But
That's good.
I think that they missed an opportunity and we probably could have toured together. But that's, um, and she would have been one of the first because the level that she was able to bring back then was super cool. And there were no other girls doing it at that time. So she would have been a pioneer there. So it's just ironic that it ends up on my solo album, how many years later.
Yeah, 40.
I'm glad it's there. Yeah.
Oh,
I
it's a
think it's a
great
great,
song.
Yeah.
great ending song on the album.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
so when we did Free Will, I had written this song, and this was probably one of the only times that I got a song where it just all came all at once, and I had to, scribble the lyrics because they were just. And I don't really play an instrument, but I can pick out chords on the
right.
keyboard and I can program synths. And I sat down and I put a little something together, and then Les put the guitar to it, and that became Bite My Tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
He played it for the guys in the band.
This
Um,
is a good story, John.
yeah, at Loud Crowd in 2024, we had just done a demo of it, and he played it for Juan and Jeffrey and Craig Church, and I wasn't there when they played it.
And I just said, guys, this is rough, but you got to listen to it. And so I played it, and they looked at me and they said, sounds like garbage. And I went, what?
What?
And they said, oh, no, 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 garbage is a good
It
thing.
was a band
It's a
Oh,
called
the
band.
band
Garbage.
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a band called Garbage. And I was like, what?
Yes.
I never heard of a band called Garbage.
So that's that comes to
I've
me.
heard of them, but I never could understand why anyone would want to name their album. I mean, name their
Yeah.
band that, but it is
But
what
So
it
Les came to me after and said, "Yeah, I played your song for the guys, and they thought it sounded like garbage."
but actually they loved it. They loved
Yeah,
it. And there's something about the song. It's just like
yeah,
gives me chills
Yeah,
to
yeah, the message of it is relatable, I think, to a lot of young women, I think. And anyway, that's so now what I want like to do is make videos. And
yeah,
yeah,
she's doing a lot of the videos behind us during the live show.
I did the free will video
Yeah.
and
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, we got sort of in touch and with CG Reich from Iron Wrath,
Right, right,
and he did the River video from the first album, and he became a really good friend, and just that whole process really sparked this girl and myself as well. But she really has gotten into the visual behind each song, and
Yeah,
I just love that. I mean, I love this aspect of art.
I think it's an extension of our theater
yeah,
background
yeah,
because it's multimedia. And
right,
the BMI Center has this huge LED wall, and CG put together the movie the first time, and then the second time I added some things. And this year we're going to play there with just the two of us. There's been some budget cuts, and it's just not feasible to take the whole band. So
right,
we're exploring how we can interact
Yeah,
with the LED screen,
with the multimedia
so that
yeah,
presentation.
something is on the screen, then all of a sudden, it comes off the corner of the screen and it's in real time, and just playing with it a little bit. That's kind of where what we're looking at now.
Yeah, and now the band is playing together in Sweden
Yeah,
in March,
right.
March 20th. We're doing Light the Darkness or
the dark.
Light the Dark.
Yeah,
And yeah, and then we have some other things that I can't talk about.
yeah.
But the band is
Are you planning with the Sweden concert any kind of like visual for that, like a release of maybe of
no,
it or anything, or
no,
just a
because
concert?
that's not the kind of situation, I don't think.
Yeah, they don't have a
They
they
don't
don't
have
have
a
a screen,
they
a
don't have a
projector,
big
an
screen.
LED, so it will
Okay,
just be pure music
It's like a
band doing
festival
music. Yeah.
outdoor kind of rock
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to Seattle March
12th
12th
to rehearse.
to rehearse with the guys, and we're going to get ready for that, and we're going to do that.
Yeah. And Paul Jackson's not able to go. That's a whole story with his son. I don't know if you know
Trevor.
what
Oh
happened
yeah,
with that.
yeah. I've been praying for his son for a while. Yeah, since I heard about the accident. Yeah.
So Nick Layton from Reign of Glory is going to take
He's going to
second guitar
play
with Craig.
Paul's part
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, he's amazing too on the guitar.
He is, and he's a good
Yeah,
guy. And
We're
Paul,
gonna we're gonna zoom in
he
a
has
couple hours.
Paul's blessing, and we're all good.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So
Right.
is this it?
Yes.
It's
Yeah. This
wonderful.
is this is it. So I'll do the closeout and then we can talk a little bit afterwards for a few minutes. So
Right.
thank you everyone for watching with my special guest lesson and Joyce Carlsen today. And as I always close out every video, I would like to encourage you to follow the light that shines out of the darkness. God bless everyone. Bye bye.